Welcome to the Armchair Warrior. My name's Rick Layton, and today we're with one of the hottest pullers in the sport right now, the hillbilly assassin himself, Paul Talbott. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How's it going, Rick?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bud.
So, I know you got three big super matches that we're going to talk about, but before we do, in case there's somebody on here that doesn't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself. Age, where you from?
Well, I'm Paul Talbott, A.K.A. the Hillbilly Assassin, right? From Ohio, mid-eastern Ohio. I'm 37 now, and I've been pulling in the sport for right around 12 years.
Sweet. Is that big deer in your area?
Big deer? Yeah, but no, everybody gets them but me.
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah,
How far are you from like Mesquite? No, not Muskegon. Coshocton,
the
and
Shockton. It's probably like an hour and 15 minutes, give or take. Yeah, it's not too far. We hunt that once in a while. We take like a buddy's trip down there and do some light bow hunting and then a little bit of gun. But yeah, it's not too far. They kill them all the time down there, but we
yeah,
just we haven't had any luck. I hunt with a cousin of mine. We've been hunting since we were kids. He kills big deer every year. We hunt the same spots, you know what I mean? So it's just luck of the draw sometimes, but you know how that goes.
yeah. I went 4 or 5 times to Coshocton, Licking, and
Oh, really?
Muskegon. I think it's all
Yeah,
together right there. I
yeah,
hunted a couple
Muskegon.
different places, but I always went during bow season. It's hard to, in the wheelchair, it's hard to throw
Right,
out a ground blind today and throw out some corn, and expect a big giant buck to walk by you tonight.
right, absolutely.
So, well, that's cool. So 12 years into sport. How'd you get the nickname?
How'd I get it? My teammates actually. I was in Reno, Nevada, 2012, and I made it to the finals at the Nationals, and they wanted a walkout song, and they asked me for a nickname. I went back to my buddies, my teammates. I'm like, hey, they asked me for a nickname. I don't have a nickname. Like it'd be cool to have a nickname, right? And my one buddy, coach, mentor, buddy for a long time, is like, how about the Hillbilly Assassin? I'm like, sounds good to me. So
Let her rip.
it's been that ever since. Yeah. So
Well, that's pretty cool. So, all right. So, I know this weekend you got the War Zone, ARMWRESTLER,
yep, yep.
Lansing, South Carolina on the 20th. I'm planning on coming down there if nothing happens.
Oh, dude,
I've been
good.
beat
Yeah,
up.
it'll be
Yeah,
good to
I've
see you.
been beat up some, so I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna pull or not. But
Oh,
see
okay.
how I feel. But hopefully, I'm gonna get to pull. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
be filming your super match one way or the other.
Oh, cool. You gonna live stream it, or everybody's asking me if anybody's live streaming? I'm like, I don't really know. They're
Yeah,
like, oh, let us know. I'm like, yeah, well, I'll try, but in the heat of the moment, you ain't really on social media trying to get everybody a live stream link. But
yeah, it's gonna depend on if they got any Wi-Fi down there. I went 2 years ago. He had a great tournament down there 2 years ago. I didn't make
right,
it last year, but
yeah,
well, I don't have enough subscribers to do a live on YouTube, but I can do a live on
uh,
Facebook.
right, right.
So we'll see how that goes, but I'm gonna plan on filming the super matches and the whole thing and have it edited up and put up on YouTube eventually, pretty
Heck
quick.
yeah, cool, cool.
So I know you got one mutual opponent, Robbie Russell. I
Right.
actually was the down ref when he pulled 2 years ago, and they had a war down there that day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Robbie appeared to be stronger than him at the time, but he just couldn't keep him out the hook. Adam was just relentless on carving in the whole time, and he finally got him in. He just didn't have enough for him inside
Right.
endurance.
Yeah, I've heard all about that match. I never have got to see it as of today, but I heard it was a pretty good war. I mean, they're both hookers, so I would imagine it would have been a pretty good grinder.
Yeah, well, I think Robbie told me beforehand that his intention was not to hook. He said, "I
Oh,
don't
really?
think I've got enough hook for him." He said, "I do most people, but I don't think I do for him."
Right,
So
right.
he was doing everything he could to stay outside. He actually beat him the first match in the hook. He beat Adam,
Oh,
and
okay.
then the second one, Adam was smart enough to foul on the second one. He had him again.
Oh,
And he was
really?
yeah,
Wow.
he was smart enough to foul, and then after that, I think he just ran out of gas inside. But I
Right,
know Adam's leveled up a lot since then. I mean,
right.
for sure. But
Absolutely.
you absolutely manhandled what's his name the other day,
Yeah,
Robbie.
yeah, yeah. It was a good day for me. I just said he come at me a little bit, so he come into my lane and I hit it perfectly. My timing was good on point that day, so I mean it all worked out for me.
Yep. So, what are your thoughts on this match? Care to make a prediction?
I mean, I always predict myself as a winner, but I just don't know, you know what I mean? So I'm number 7, but I've haven't really even pulled that much outside of WAL right-handed in this weight class. You know what I mean? I pulled for a long time at 165, 176, wherever I floated around that. But um, I mean, I feel like I'm top 3, top 5 in the country anyway. So I mean, to say that I'm not in it, I mean, I feel 100% confident that I have the abilities and the confidence to win, whether it goes my way or not. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, his hand's huge. His hook's good. I'm not a hooker. You know what I mean? I'm not strong. I got a little bit of holding power on the inside, but not a ton. I have no offensive hook at all. So if it goes there, it's going to be all defense, and then just hope to get out of there. But yeah. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it, and we'll see how it goes. You know what I mean?
And this is right-handed, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Right. And
I got you. I got you. Um, yeah, I know Adams leveled up, and he's definitely. I know he's a smart. I know he's strong, and I know he's smart. When you got Chad Silvers and Matt Harris in your corner every week, I know he's going to be smart. So it's going to be a good match. I think it's
absolutely.
going to be a. It's going to be a. You're going to have to use some strategy there, figure out when to let one go and when not to let one go, that kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So, all right. So now you were telling me about you're pulling Jonathan Breda next month. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. September 9th, 10th, the weekend of the 9th. Yeah. I think we fly into New Orleans on the 9th, so it'd be the 10th that I pull him. Yeah. Super match. Best of 5 for $1,000. Yeah. I wasn't really wanting to jump into it because I put out a post a while ago that I wanted to start pulling 220 guys and stay under 200 pounds. And I wasn't really trying to go for the top 5 guys right off the bat. I wanted a couple good matches, like, I don't know, 12, 10, 12, 15, whatever, and then work my way down. But I didn't really get any takers except for the top 5 guys, you know what I mean? So I pulled Brandon Elsesser in Harrisburg, which was just a regular tournament. And then the only other person that said they would accept the match was Breda. So, I mean, it happened that way. So I accepted the match, and we'll see how it goes.
Now he's ranked. Is he one at 220?
Yeah, yep.
All right. Well, you got a win on Pablo, so he was number one at what, 230?
Well, no, I don't know what he's ranked. He's ranked in the 242s right now. I think he's like 4 or 5 in the 242s. Right hand. I didn't even look at his left hand. But me and Breda are pulling left, so um, yeah. So he's top in the 220s, and then like I said, Pablo. That was a match I couldn't turn down too. He's number 4 or 5 in the 242s, which I definitely didn't want to jump that high, but I mean
Right.
it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, so I went for it. You know what I mean?
I was looking on my phone, but yeah, I was doing a little research before we came on, and of course, there's different rankings, of course, and I can't remember which one I was looking at, but yeah, they had it ranked at 230, and he was Pablo was number one left-handed
Uh,
at 230.
230.
Now, when you jump to the
Okay,
242, you're right, he probably backs down to the
about
four or
four or
five
five,
slot.
something like that. Yeah, yeah. But
Yep. So, well, I guess those are obviously awesome, but getting invited to East versus West, man, tell me about
yeah,
that. I mean,
yeah. That's
WL's big, but that's huge.
right. Yeah, it's an opportunity, a lifetime for me. You know what I mean? It's what everybody's doing right now. So I'm honored to be able to be a part of it. I couldn't thank England enough to actually invite me and feel that I'm at the caliber to pull with those kind of athletes. So I'm pretty pumped about it.
And that weight class is going to be what?
Well, when he actually messaged me about the match, he asked me who I wanted to pull with, um, and Daniel was one of them, and I think he said he was like 178, 180 at the time, and I'm like, well, I'm like 187, so is there any way we could either meet in the middle, or he would pull me at 187, and he said, "Oh, I'll ask him, but I would imagine that he would." So after the Corey match, he announced, I'm sure you've seen it, I'm sure you watched it, but he said he would like to pull anybody from 80 to 90 kilos. from the U.S. So Engen reached back out to me and it said if I want to, I could be up to 90 kilos for that match. So I'm not usually that big. I haven't been that big in a while, and I don't really plan on getting that big. If it happens, it happens. But I'm real usually right around 187, 190. So we'll see. But it's good to be able to have that kind of leeway with the travel and everything like that. So but yeah, so he'll be anywhere from probably 180, 185. I don't really see him getting. He's not very tall, so I don't really see him getting much bigger than 185. But you never know. So,
Right.
so
That's a bad cat,
but
evidently. He
oh yeah,
he handled Corey pretty much with ease,
yeah,
which I was pretty shocked.
it was pretty phenomenal how he handled that match. It
So
didn't even look like he stressed at all. Like even with his explosive hit, I mean, everybody knows Corey's got that lightning hit and it's explosive and it kills a lot of people, but it seemed like it didn't even affect him at all, which is phenomenal.
yeah, I stumbled across him probably a year or so ago, a YouTube post about developing a world class hook or whatever. So I'm not a hooker either, but I got to watching him doing all his stuff, and man, he's moving some incredible weight. Which
Yeah,
all those guys over that way, it's unreal what they can. But they just train all the time. It's unreal.
yeah, yeah. They're not like us, and not all of us, but they're not weekend warriors. You know what I mean? They love it. It's their passion, and they work hard for it. So I mean, and they're getting the results from it. So hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So you said that I heard you say you're not much of a offensive hooker. You got some hold, but so obviously you're a top roller, shoulder roller. Um, yeah. Well, let's back up a minute. How'd you get started in this crazy sport anyway?
Yeah, I just found it on the internet, believe it or not. I mean, I watched a little bit of stuff when I was in high school and in study hall and stuff like that, Cobra Rhodes and all those, John Brzenk, Luke Kemp, Brandon Dye. I mean, all the good guys were on bat, and I didn't really find it on the internet myself until like I was probably like 24, 25, and I stumbled onto the Northeast message board, which I mean, I'm sure you remember Northeast.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not the newcomers, but I mean, we all remembered it, and it was, everything that was on there. I found the tournament log, hit the tournament log, found one close to me. I'm like, all right. So I asked my wife at the time, like, can I go to this tournament? She said, I don't care. Went down there and actually did very well in that tournament. Amateurs, I won left and right at 198. 198. I was about 198 when I started arm wrestling. Um, got introduced to Leonard Hartless, and Tim
Mhm.
Lewis was actually the other person that said, "Oh, you're pretty good. You ought to start going to practices, find a club." They asked where I was from. They're like, "Well, we don't really know anybody from Ohio, but we know some people from Erie, PA, and you should get in touch with them." So I did. Went up there, practiced with them a couple times, went to a couple tournaments, and that's kind of how it started. Was those guys? I mean, they took me in, and it was like I was there the whole time. They accepted me, and I went up there. I would drive 2 hours, a little over, like 2 hours, 10 minutes, I would say. Practice for 45 minutes to an hour, get back in my car and drive 2.5 hours home. It was crazy, but I loved it. You know what I mean? We all love it to start, but
That's what
that's
it
what I
takes, man.
that
That's what it
that's
takes.
what I that's what I did every weekend. Yep. I mean, I drove probably 4.5, 5 hours a day to practice an hour for the first probably year. So I mean, but it was great. I learned what I needed to, and it got me started in the sport. So I mean, hats off to those guys. I really appreciate them taking me in, and now we're like brothers. You know what I mean? I'll always be part of that club.
Yeah, that's the cool part of it. I mean, at my age, I'm 55, be 56 before long. My super competitive days are pretty much gone. But the friends that I've made over the years it's after 35 years of pulling, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
it is absolutely amazing. Everybody is great. I mean, for the most part, you do get
yeah.
your one guys that get a little egotistic and don't know how to act, but the majority of everybody are great. Camaraderie is great.
You wouldn't not believe how much stuff has changed. When we first started, I don't know if did you ever remember the Armbender magazine? Did you ever have any of those?
No, I do recall seeing it, but I never got to experience it or actually see it. in
Yeah.
person.
Frank and Karen had those, and they came out about every 3 months, and we were like a kid at Christmas waiting at the mailbox on this little little
Yeah,
magazine that come out. Had a few results here and there, and maybe an article with Cobra or somebody,
oh,
and
that's awesome.
some
That's cool.
equipment, and you'd. I mean, if there was within probably 10 states, there's a 10 tournaments a weekend now. I mean,
Right.
back then, you just had a tournament. You may have to drive 10 hours one way and 10 hours the next weekend or whatever to get to something. But now you
Right.
got a lot of choices. But back then we didn't. But I was about like you. I about every other weekend I was going to a tournament every 2 or 3 weeks for sure.
Yep. Yep.
But that's what gets you good quick.
Yeah, yeah, it sure does. I mean, yeah, I was able to do it too. I was, like I said, 24, 25, and nothing hurt. I could arm wrestle. We'd go to practice. Like I said, at first it was an hour at a time, but then I got introduced to other people and found other practices. I could go 2, 3, 4 hours. So I would never get sore. Like nowadays, it's an hour max. I'm done for. But it was great when I first started, just to be able to arm wrestle for hours at a time and just soaked it all in. I just loved it. And I wanted to be good like now, not in a
Yeah.
year or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you had a pretty good base when you started. My dad owned the bowling alley, so that's where I got started. And everybody's pulling on the counter. Well, I can't beat anybody. I mean, I'm 150 pounds. I'm going 135-pound left-handers, and they're beating me right-handed. I mean, I'm terrible.
Okay.
And you probably don't remember Ray Taglione. He was a world champion from Florida, a small guy.
Oh,
He came up to one of our local tournaments, and first one I ever even saw in person. And he was three-time world champion. We had a guy that was going to crush everybody, local guy, of course, just going to crush everybody. Didn't happen. You've
yeah.
seen that a million times, but
Right.
this guy's talking about, pouring a drink in your pocket. He's talking about the top roll. Well, nobody knew nothing about top roll back then. Well, all my buddies were good in the hook, so they didn't really listen to him, but I was terrible all the way around, so I listened to him. 6 months later, there are probably not two people in the county that can beat me, and I'm 150 pounds. So,
Right. Yeah.
but we talking about pulling a lot. I mean, we literally pulled 7 days a week at the bowling alley.
Wow.
Somebody was coming in there, but outer
That's
tricep
crazy.
killing you, but
I
just
can imagine.
just keep
Yeah.
grinding there.
Yeah.
But now, how often do you pull now? What kind of weight training stuff? What's your
Uh,
regimen?
I do a lot of weight training now, like heavy powerlifting style training. I do started incorporating a lot more hand and stuff in the last month or two, but there for a while. This first of this year, I just lifted heavy, and I would do just some cup work, no pronation, no supination until after I pulled Pablo. I'm like, well, I got to get this stuff back. You know what I mean? That little tedious stuff I threw to the wayside. Possibly, I mean, I may not have been able to win that match, but it possibly could have got me in it a little more, maybe pulled off another win. But so now it's heavyweight as far as gym stuff, and then back to the basics, cupping, a lot of cupping, probably 2 inch, 2 to 3 inch handles, nothing major, and then pretty much all belt supination and pronation, as much off the table as possible. I do stuff like floating my elbow if my elbow is tender or something. I like to do most of my arm wrestling stuff off my table in the position that I want to train it, whether it's offensive or defensive.
Now, when you say heavyweight, your rep range is what?
Well, it all depends on what I do. So, like, I've been doing like heavy pull ups. So I'll start with just a basic pull ups, do 15, 20, and then I'll shorten up the range and I'll go, a 45-pound plate, and then I'll throw 90 pounds on there. And but it's basically at that point, whatever I can get. I'm like around the 6, 8, sometimes 10 rep range. But once you get into that heavy stuff, probably like 6 or 8 rep range, I would say. As far as that, hammer curls, and then like a bent over row. Those are like my three like maxed out heavy lifts that I do, and they all end up to being around 6 to 8 reps by the end of it.
Now, you have, in my opinion, a ton of side pressure because I mean, it usually you get your hand, but even if you get, kind of like Brzezinski, if he loses his hand, just not all Jerry Caderet style.
Yeah, yeah,
If you get kinked a little, it doesn't seem to bother you. You have a lot of side pressure.
right.
What do you contribute that side pressure to?
I don't really know. I don't know if it's genetics, or I used to trim trees when I was a young kid, like 20s and through my early 20s up until I started arm wrestling. So I don't know if it was all the sawing and all the movements of climbing trees and stuff like that, or it's just natural for me. I used to like bar arm wrestle that way too. Like, well, that's how I won my first tournament, just straight sideways, a little bit of shoulder roll incorporated in, but I didn't really know how to shoulder roll at the time. So, um, I think it's always been there. I don't know if it's just being, broader with bigger shoulders that it just comes naturally to me. But I don't really train side pressure that much because I mean, it hurts everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
except for Hutchings. I don't really think it hurts him, but I can do it and I do it sometimes, but I can't sit here and tell you that I train it every week or every other week or something because I don't. It's just something when I get in that position with a little bit of a cocked back wrist, I can go sideways. But as far as the training, it just hurts too bad.
Yeah, I think Hutchins has ruined more elbows in arm wrestling than he helps, everybody trying that crap that he does.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I don't know. And then he throws in his jam presses and he's good as new the next week. It doesn't make any sense to me because jam presses don't do anything but beat me up even worse.
I've heard a lot of people say that. How, how long has it been since you came down and pulled with us? You came down and pulled me and Jeremy.
Oh, it was probably heck, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago now, huh?
Yeah,
It's been a while.
you were still killing yourself to make 65s at the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it had to be 16 then, at least 16, because that was the last year I pulled 65. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I've moved since then.
Maybe
So
6, maybe 7 years by then.
yeah, yeah. Um, we need to get Fraley back in it, man. You ever talk to
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, he was actually at my house a couple weeks ago. He come up and he did a little I guess you'd call it a seminar for his motocross bikes and stuff like that. He works on like fork repairs and stuff like that. So he actually come up. I didn't really get to spend much time with him because my schedule, I had to work and stuff like that. But I offered him to stay with me. He stayed for a few days and he did his things and we caught up a little bit. But what I say the same thing. He just does his back's just killing him. He just can't do it and it bothers him. You know what I mean? And I mean, it hurts his pride and everything else not to get into it. But I mean, if it's that bad for him, what's he gonna do?
He needs to fix it. I mean, he's had trouble with it for a long time. But I was
Yeah,
picking at him last time I talked to him. I said, "Yeah, I guess if you're gonna hang out with me more, I'm gonna have to learn to ride a motorcycle." So, but
right.
we miss him. That's a strong old boy, left-handed.
Yeah, he is too, and he's still we messed around a little bit. He couldn't do much, like I said, because his back, but he still has it for not doing anything at all. It's still there. All he would have to do is fine tune it and figure a way how to fix his back. You know what I mean? So I mean, I miss him too in the sport. I loved watching him arm wrestle, and he's a great dude, and he's a fierce competitor. I hope he can get himself right one day and get back at it.
I think the back's holding him back, but I think it's more his boy. Just because I did the same thing, at kind of a prime of mine's when my kids started playing baseball, and for 12 years, I mean, I still arm wrestled, but I didn't. I wasn't serious about it for about 12 years because that's all we did was baseball.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, and it's understandable. I mean, his kid seems to be killing it, racing. So, I mean, what better thing than watch your kid, grow and do something they love? I
yep.
mean, that's our responsibility in life, right?
That's right. Well, man, I'm not going to hold you up. I know you got things to do. I appreciate you jumping on. And if the good Lord's willing, I will see you Friday.
All right, buddy, I appreciate it, and yeah, hope I can see you.
All right. Take care.
All right, I'll talk to you later, bud.
All right. See ya.